If you've been following arm wrestling for a decent amount of time, you've probably heard of Alexey VOEVODA. Alexey is one of the legends of the sport and is one of the few people in history to hold the official #1 rank on the planet. Alexey became the #1 overall guy in the world in 2004 and then left the sport from the peak of the mountain. But this was no easy task. Alexey had an extremely difficult journey to the top, one that is full of devastation and heartbreak. This video will tell the story of Alexey VOEVODA's climb to the highest level of arm wrestling. Alexey was born on May 9th of 1980, so he is older than both Denis Saplinkov and Andrei Pushkar, and the time frame of his era reflects this. Alexey was dominant before Denis or Andrei were known quantities. First, Alexey won the arm wrestling championships in Finland 3 times, and then in 2001, Alexey competed at the Zlatka Tour. In this tournament, Alexey lost to Zvetan Gashevsky in the open weight category. Legend has it that Alexey used this loss to motivate him to improve since Gashevsky was a much lower body weight, and Alexey came back to the same tournament the following year. But this time, he was a totally different guy. In the 2002 Zlatka Tour, Alexey dominated everyone. I couldn't find a single clip of him even going to the B side of the table. Alexey was better in every aspect of his game. His technique was more refined, his confidence was hugely increased, and his power was through the roof. In this tournament, Alexey destroyed Taras Avakin, who would go on to get wins on John Brzezinski and Devin Larratt. This is the tournament where everyone realized that Alexey was a big problem. Even in 2002, it didn't look like there was really anyone to challenge him. Even in the finals, Alexey's victory looked very comfortable. In the following year, at the 2003 Zlatka Tour, Alexey did the exact same thing, only this time it was even easier. Alexey just wiped the floor with everyone in this tournament. It looked like people didn't even want to pull him because the risk of injury was so high. Even in the finals against Taras Avakin, Alexey had no problems. Taras almost looked like he didn't even try because he was so nervous to hit into the brick wall that is Alexey VOEVODA. It was obvious that there was a massive strength gap between Alexey and everyone else. Although Alexey did not officially have the #1 rank, most people thought it was pretty obvious that he was the best in reality. After all, if he can do this to Taras Avakin, nobody from America is going to have a chance to do anything. And in December of that same year, Alexey got a chance to prove it. Alexey competed in the WAF World Championships in Ontario, Canada. And just like everyone expected, Alexey was waxing everyone in this tournament. He flash-pinned every single guy he went up against all the way to the finals. He was just so much stronger and so much faster than all of the competition. Alexey had only one more obstacle in the way before winning the tournament. And let's be honest, it was really just a formality. All he has to do now is beat this goofy-looking redneck that tucks his shirt into his sweatpants. What? How in the world did that just happen? Travis Bagent defeats Alexey VOEVODA, shocking himself, shocking the world, and most of all, shocking Alexey VOEVODA. He just lost the world championships to this guy. This was devastating to Alexey as he now knew the truth. He was never the best in the world. Even though he destroyed everyone he faced over the last 2 years, there was still someone better than he was. Some people would have just quit after suffering a loss like that, but instead, Alexey uses it to motivate him. The legendary training clips of Alexey arm wrestling 2 guys, bench pressing the leg press, and doing 1-arm pull-ups all come from his training following the loss to Travis. If Travis had not beat Alexey in that match, we may have never seen Alexey reach the level that he did. Alexey trained harder than he ever did in his career, awaiting his opportunity for revenge. And in 2004 at the Nemiroff World Cup, he got it. As expected, both Travis and Alexey were walking through everyone in this tournament. All of the matches in the build-up were simply stepping stones. The match that mattered so much more was the rematch between Travis and Alexey. Alexey looked like a killer in this tournament, and the Travis match was no exception. On the start of the match, Travis hits sideways in his classic lane and cracks his own wrist back in the process. From here, Alexey topples Travis to the pad with ease. And then, nothing. Alexey shows no emotion, no celebration, no completion. Alexey does not show the face of someone who just claimed something for the first time, but instead the face of someone who feels as though he was robbed and is simply taking back what was rightfully his all along. Alexey goes on to face John Breen in the finals, and we see a repeat of the same. Alexey defeats John comfortably and retains his sinister glare. We do see a brief moment when Alexey does let out some built-up emotion, but overall, Alexey does not demonstrate a state of relief or surprise. The restoration of proper order has been completed, and Alexey agrees with the result. Now everyone is aware of what Alexey already knew in his heart. After this impressive win, Alexey did exactly what you would expect anyone to do who just became the #1 arm wrestler in the world. He went to the Olympics as a bobsledder. I don't really know anything about bobsledding, but Alexey looks like he's having fun. Anyway, later in 2007, Alexey made a comeback to the sport, facing monster Michael Todd. And even though Alexey was competing off of the couch in this match, he destroyed Michael. He pretty much allowed Michael to initiate every round and beat Michael in whatever lane he wanted to. Even this version of Alexey that hadn't competed in years was still able to easily go through Michael Todd. And in the last round, we even see Alexey allowing Michael into a deep hook and proceeds to can opener him, fully demonstrating his dominance in the matchup. Man, this is so cool. After way too much time, we finally have Alexey back. And he's gone again, doing some more good old sledding. But sometime after this, Alexey had another comeback match against Tim Bresnan at PAL. Alexey was considered by most to be the heavy favorite in this match, but unfortunately for Alexey, Tim proved to be a much tougher opponent than most people thought. Part of the reason for this was Tim's very awkward open top roll style. Alexey was able to take Tim to the B side of the table pretty easily, but he just couldn't finish the match. His wrist would get cracked back as he started to drive down and sideways for the pin. And this was even more unfortunate because Tim was basically supposed to be an easy match for Alexey to make a comeback to the sport. The idea was that Alexey would destroy Tim and then he could move on to stronger opponents, but Tim ended up winning. So it really messed up the start of Alexey's second comeback. And after this, once again, Alexey decided to take a break. Alexey continued into another profession that logically follows arm wrestling, politics. But now, in 2023, Alexey has one more match scheduled with John Breen at King of the Table 8. I have no idea if Alexey will continue back into the sport in general, or if he's only planning on taking this one match. Either way, it will be super cool to see him versus John one more time. Something that is very interesting about Alexey is that he puts such a high priority on legacy. To Alexey, if he can't be the best, there's really no point in even competing. I think this is part of what led to him only making brief comebacks to the sport, but also what led him to claiming the #1 spot in the first place. I think pretty much everyone would agree that Alexey VOEVODA was the best arm wrestler in the world in 2004. The rankings reflected this as well as everyone's honest opinion. But when it comes to Alexey VOEVODA, there may be only one thing that drives him harder than the desire to win. Only one thing that is more important than legacy. One thing that made him train harder than he ever had before. Perhaps Alexey's most powerful weapon is vengeance.